Okay. So I want to talk with a little bit about how we developed this particular approach to Shintaido. But because it's Shintaido, I thought we might all like to move around first. So let's start with some really simple movements, and then we'll sit down. You'll need a chair handy if you have, if you like to sit. Um, and Then we'll go into a little bit of a sitting after we've moved our toes and our fingers and our other body parts a bit. I am working from notes. This is my first time to teach this class. So if you suddenly see me rudely looking off to the side, it's not that I don't like you, it's that that's where my notes are, secretly hiding in the off-camera space. And Zoom is just weird that way. Um, and I've also got some thoughts about uh, Zoom teaching that I'll go over with you a little bit later on, so that everything works as well as we can make it work. All right, so please stand up if you're willing and able to stand. If you do need, I don't know everybody here. If there's anybody here who ever needs to sit down, please do. Um, I'll give you a couple of other notes about class management in a bit. So uh, we want to start this. This class focuses on finding ourselves in the world, and we're going to start by using our muscles and our bones and our breath to help us locate ourselves in time and space. And good heavens knows, I lose myself quite a bit these days because it's very, very weird out there. So um, let's let our bodies bring us home. I'm going to back up just a little bit so you can see my feet, because we're going to start with feet first. And we're just going to move our toes and stretch them out and feel the bones in your feet. It may help to, have you seen a cat needing a pillow? It's kind of that kind of feeling. Your toes are reaching down into the ground. And I don't know about if you have a cat around the house, but my cat gets this great big Cheshire cat grin on her face when she's doing that because it feels good. So the toes run back almost to the heel bone. So you can feel your toe bones. There's quite a few of them in there, moving as your feet move on the floor, and moving as the blood begins to remove the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, and bring in fresh oxygen and all those other good things that the muscles need to work. So after you've moved your toes a little bit, um, we're going to go to the ball of the foot, and just one foot, can you see okay? One foot lifts up, the heel lifts up and you're on the ball, and then the other foot up and on the ball. There we go. Okay, so moving on the ball of your feet, so like this, 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 and this feels really good to my feet because I work at a desk a lot and they don't get moved. So feel the movement in your foot all the way back to your heel, because the area right in front of your heel, this back of the arch, is where we will be grounding down into the ground. And if the more movement you can get through that area, the easier it will be to get grounded and centered and to reach through your feet into the earth. So now we're going to go to the arch of the foot. So imagine that you have this towel, a lightweight bath towel or a kitchen towel, and you're squeezing it with your toes. So you're pulling it back. Can you see? Like you're pulling this towel in toward you. It will arch your foot up. Okay? Ich, ni, sa, shi, go. Okay, other side. Ich, ni, sa, shi, go. Very good. Okay. Now, We'll work through the ankles. There's a lot of little bones in the ankles. Just shift your feet so that your ankles are flexing and stretching. And if you're, did somebody say something? No, okay, it must have been out street noise. Thank you. If you happen to work with a lot of senior citizens like I do, this is fall prevention. Anytime you can get your feet and your ankles to moving, you have 2 more lines of fall defense before the movement has to be caught by your knees, a stumble or a trip or a slippery movement on ice. And most of us just do that with our knees and hips. But once you get your feet working smoothly, then you have all these other bones that can help flex and prevent gravitational displacement. Okay, fingers. So we're going to do extremities. That's it. Just wiggle your fingers. There's all kinds of things you can do. I'm sure you've had lots of Shintaido-y things and non-Shintaido-y things that work your fingers. I like to stretch mine out like that. If it doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. And I found that having my students massage the ball of the thumb, really, a lot of people really like that. So if they're very, very eager to do everything as hard as possible, you may have to tell them to do it gently. But we're just letting the ball of the thumb, this joint right here tends to be the first place that we get arthritis. So any relaxation that you can do for that joint is probably, all other things being equal, going to be nice. So now we're going to the core muscles. And I like to imagine a core of light through my body, like a column of light. But I don't think that images are always helpful for everybody. So, I mean, the same images. So you can find one that works for you and pass it on to your students if you like, but they may do better finding their own too sometimes. Okay, so mine is a column of light that goes from my pubic crest all the way up to my collarbones and then out through the top of my head, a little bit to the back of the my top of my head. And then all of the muscles and the bones kind of organize around that. It helps make me taller, helps make me more relaxed. So let's go back to your feet. Feet are doing this. Movement goes up to your knees. Movement comes up to your hips. Just take a pause on that. Fingers, elbows, shoulders. Okay. Now everything goes up from the hips and in from the fingers and out through that column and up. And we're not really working hard at this point. We're just waking up. And it goes down into the ground. And the pillar pulls us up. And gravity pulls us down. It's very relaxing. And the pillar pulls us up. And gravity pulls us down. Just pause for a minute and just breathe. Very good. Okay, so that's our little bit of a warm-up. Let's get your chairs if you feel like sitting, and I will introduce myself. I think quite a few of you know me, but maybe some people don't know me very well. I started Shintaido in Tokyo in 1975. I practiced at the Hombu, which was the headquarters for, sort of, it was world headquarters then because we didn't have much organization. Um, and I actually started practicing 2 months after Ito Sensei left for the United States. So he went in November, and my husband and I came in late December, and we just crossed like that. So we didn't actually meet Ito Sensei until I met everyone on the West Coast later the next summer. I practiced with Masa Egami Sensei and Minagawa Sensei and Okada Sensei and Hokari Sensei and of course Aoki Sensei. And many other senior members too had a big effect on me. We were incredibly beginners. To tell you the truth, we were such beginners, they didn't know what to do with us because I was 25 when I started, and that was old for the group. The group, most of them had started at 18 and were much more athletic at 18 than average. And my husband and I were just average. We thought we were doing fine, but we had no idea. So, and there was something really special about the practice. It was the techniques were amazing. You know, they were challenging and they were beautiful, and I wouldn't have stayed just for the techniques. It was something beyond technique that kept me in Shintaido. So I found it compelling. And I started teaching informally in 1978, just to some neighborhood, some women in the neighborhood. And I've been practicing and teaching ever since that time. So this spring, I was part of a working group on Shintaido branding, and we worked together for about 2 months. And at the end of that, we identified something that we called soft hand Shintaido as a core Shintaido practice. And I'm really excited about that because I think there's a lot of people in the world who would benefit from Shintaido, but they aren't in a position in their lives or in their bodies or uh, in their location, or they can't do karate or bojutsu or bokuto, and they can't do keiko by running down the beach doing eiko dai. It just doesn't work for their lives. So during the summer, after we did the branding exercise, Nancy Billias and I developed a group of lesson plans for an introductory course on soft hand Shintaido. And last month, Connie asked me to teach that course here on Zoom in the month of November. So here we are. Thank you very much for being my beta testers. And I'm looking forward to your feedback. This is the first of, we have 5 classes, and I think you have 4 slots in November if we don't work on Thanksgiving weekend. So we might just leave Thanksgiving weekend open. If anybody wants to practice, we could do a practice on Sunday, Thanksgiving weekend, and tie everything up. Or I will do my best to put the 5 classes into 4 classes. Or we can run into December, but it looks like you've got some other things planned for December. So let's see, a lot of the movements that we're doing today will be very familiar to you. So this course is designed for absolutely beginners who walk in the door, either thinking that they signed up for Kung Fu, or they signed up for yoga, or they signed up for, they won't have done any of the Shintaido movements. So this class is sort of the beginning class for the beginners. And the classes that we designed run about an hour long. I'm hoping that we will finish this class with a little time to spare, and we'll have some times for questions and answers. One thing I'd like to emphasize before we start, Nancy and I don't think of this as a fixed curriculum. We think of it as a resource, and we wanted something that teachers could use, especially beginning teachers, could basically use right out of the book. Just open the box and it would work. but also something that more experienced teachers, which many of you probably are, can pick and choose. You know, take a little piece here and a little piece there, and it will fit into your own teaching. So we don't consider it a fixed curriculum in any way. And in fact, we expect that most people will not teach it exactly as we wrote it up. We recommend a 10 class course. In our experience, that is just about right if you're doing a class at a YMCA, and Nancy teaches at a university that works for her university curriculum. And we have 5 classes for which we have an organized curriculum. And then we figured that the second 5 would be review and expansion on the first 5, depending on the individual instructor and the needs of that class. We built the curriculum around the 5 principles of Ten-Chi-Hitobito-Ware-Ittai, or heaven, earth, others, self, and unity, and also around the 5 sounds of Tenshingoso. So we hope that this kind of course development will be an ongoing collaboration. And if you decide to use this curriculum, please, please, please take notes and tell us how it works. And tell us what works, tell us what doesn't work, tell us what you need, tell us what you modify, because what we had didn't work and you changed it some other way that worked better, or didn't work at all, and we need feedback. Just a brief housekeeping note about Zoom classes. If this were an in-person class, I would have come early and made sure the dojo was clean and make sure the environment was safe, and I would have greeted you as you came in the door and watched your movements, watched the way you walked across the dojo, watched how you did the warm-up. Now you are teeny tiny boxes on my screen, and I can't see if you're moving easily or not, especially when I'm standing back, so you can see. If I get far enough away that you can see my feet, you're much smaller than a postage stamp. So that means that you need to look around. I'd like you to just take a look around your environment right now, see if you've got anything dangerous, like a desk that has an edge on it, or a trip hazard, a rug, a cat, a child, something that might that you should be aware of while you're practicing, because I can't see it. Okay, and the second thing is don't get hurt. If you just had shoulder surgery, don't go raising your arms when I tell you to raise your arms. Modify the movement in any way that you need to make it work for your body. And the third one, this is mostly a help for me. If you have to leave before we end the class, please leave a note in the comments or chat. Thank you. It's kind of like, like bowing as you leave the dojo. It helps me out, helps me teach better. And it'll also help us review afterwards to see who was able to stay and who didn't, and know that you didn't just suddenly faint and fall off camera or something. So the first class focuses on Ware. Here's the character for Ware, and that means self. We started with self because we thought that before we can be at harmony with the world and all of the other things that we aspire to, we have to find ourselves. We have to know where we are. And one of the really interesting things for me as a beginner in Shintaido was that I found out martial arts could be a way to use the physical in support of the spiritual, and the spiritual in support of the physical. And that was, I didn't expect that. I expected we would be doing more things that involved, wires and flying through the air and climbing on walls and stuff. but the physical spiritual connection and the spiritual physical support is, I think, probably what kept me doing Shintaido for this long. I find it very, very exciting. This is useful not just for doing more Shintaido, it's useful for almost anything in life. If you happen to be a political activist or an artist or a community organizer or a musician or a teacher or any other thing that involves building a clear, strong space for your own life and the lives of the people you love. In order to do that, we need to be able to open our hearts and we need to be able to stand our ground. But if we don't know where we are, it's really hard to do that. So when I first started, I told you before, I was an absolute beginner. And the first thing I learned is that my body could tell me where I was. And as you can imagine, when I went into the main class, they were so kind to us, but we were so out of our depth. And so the first week we were incredibly sore. I'd never been so sore in my entire life. And it's interesting is you get that, or your muscles are that sore. The first few days they were so sore I couldn't feel anything except that it hurt. But after that, I found out where all of the insertions and attachments are. And my body really told me where I was because my muscles got sore. And then later I began to do more balancing work and began to get a little fitter, and I could tell where I was in space. And then I could tell where I was in relation to other people. And then I could tell where I was in relation to connecting with other people. And that was transformative for me. So I found that I could do movements with my body, and gradually those movements change the way I act and the way I think and the way I move in the world. And that helps what's inside me become unified with what's outside me. So I become a more consistent person. And today we're going to do that with breathing and with bowing and with a short standing meditation that's called Mokuso. So let's start with Mokuso. So for Mokuso, we're going to enter into Mokuso for those of you who are familiar with Tenshin Goso, which I imagine is like almost 100% of you. We're going to use the end of O in order to come into Mokuso. So we start with hands on top of right hand on top of left, palms up, and about rib height, lower rib height. Here, they come in to the body. The right hand turns around on the left hand. The left thumb dives inside the right hand, and the right fingers are nestled inside the left fingers. And the hands come down to just below the belly button. There's the belly button. They're going to be down about here. Okay. Nice little bend in the elbows, release. And here we have Mokuso. Great. Mokuso means quiet mind. So as you can do Mokuso in a variety of positions, but we'll be doing the standing today, right? Okay. Right hand on top of left, coming in, feet together, down to the waist, open up, feet apart, Mokuso. Very nice. And let's do that one more time. This time I want you to do it even slower. The hands are out. Find your shoulder blades. See if you can move them so that this is kind of chronic, this sort of movement, because we sit at a laptop or a computer so much. So you want to let your shoulder blades drift back and down on your spine. Hands out. Shoulder blades back and down. Drawing in. Feet together. Left thumb inside your right hand. Right fingers inside your left hand. Down to your below your belly button. And open. Very good. All right. Now, Shintaido is a holistic practice, and one of the things that excited me so much is the way that so many parts of what we do contribute to other parts of what we do in the practice. So we use our breath and we use our voices, and they contribute to the way we move, and the other way around too. So when we come into Mokso, the sound is Om. That's Om. So that's one of the big differences between Shintaido as a martial art and some of the traditional martial arts. A lot of martial arts use voice as a way to punch through. So it's a very sharp, and I'm sure you've done some Shintaido movements where we use that kind of sharp cutting voice too. But most of the sounds in Shintaido, especially what we're doing, are much longer, and they have a lot more to do with the breath and filling the whole body with the sound. So we're going to reach out, so that's our voice as an extension of our body. And we'll connect with one another with our voice. So out here, come in. And feet apart. And one last time, reach out. Right hand on top of left. And now I want your voice to fill up your body, and especially to fill up your upper chest and your shoulder blades, so that everything is becoming relaxed and light and big. Feet together. And open up. Very good. Okay. Let's look at some additional movements for finding out where we are in space, because when we this ware character means to connect with what is inside us. So it's centering, it's reaching in, and we're letting the body quiet the mind. And we're going to use breathing exercise that centers on the koshi, this part of the body, and then fills us with air, starting with the koshi and working outward. So focus down on your breathing and where your body is in space, and find your belly. Here's your belly button, and down about 4 inches, depends on your size, but 3 inches, 2.5 inches below the belly button is the tanden. It's kind of inside the body, but superficially, you can kind of feel it with your fingers. Here's the pelvic pubic crest, pelvic girdle, and we're going to feel the air fill us up from the tanden. Okay, so let's do the open up, find the tanden, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. As you breathe in, let your air fill you up. Could I just have a sound check again? Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So it's like the pelvis gets wider. It really doesn't, because it's made of bones and it only has, I don't know, some teeny tiny amount of expansion available within the bony structure, but it feels like it's expanding out. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. You can use these hand motions if it helps. They're just for me to imagine the pelvis getting bigger. And breathe out. Ordinarily, we would just be standing like this and feeling it from the inside. Okay, imagine that there's a flame inside your body, right here in your body. And as you breathe in, it spreads and it fills your body. If you don't like a flame, you can think of a light or some source of beautiful energy. Could be a musical sound. Anyway, it fills your pelvis up. And it reaches out of your pelvis down toward the ground. Breathe in. Pelvis fills up. It's reaching down towards your knees. Okay, now your feet are down in the ground. They're reaching down into the ground, and they're all relaxed and happy because they're happy feet. The breath comes up through the bottoms of your feet. It fills your feet up, and breathe out. Breathe in, fills your feet and your ankles. Breathe out. Fills in and it fills your calves. Breathe out. Breathe in, feels up to your knees, connects with that energy that's coming down from your pelvis. Breathe out. Up in the shoulder girdle, the energy is filling your shoulder girdle area and your throat. And breathe out. If your throat feels tight, you can stick your tongue out. Blah. Don't worry, I can't see you because you're a little postage stamp. Breathe in. Blah. And breathe in. And breathe out. Blah. What we're doing there technically is we're relaxing the base of the tongue. The tongue actually roots down almost to your vocal cords, if my references are right. And we don't move it very much, and especially when we're tight, the tongue tends to get tight and the neck tends to get tight. And it's easy. That's one of the easiest ways I've found to relax the neck from the inside out, is to make these ridiculous expressions with your tongue. So breathing in, and that energy comes in from your fingers all the way up through your elbows and your shoulders, and breathe out. Breathe in, up through your fingers, elbows, shoulders, collarbone. Breathe out. Breathe in, fingers, shoulders, collarbone, ribs. Breathe out. Fingers, shoulders, collarbone, up through your jaw. Relax your ears. Relax your throat. Breathe. Breathe in. So reaching like the whole head is filling up with that energy, but especially up the top, lifting up. So imagine you're connecting with energy that's coming down. And breathe in. And that energy, as you're breathing in, goes down and connects with the energy that's coming up from the tanden. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time, the whole thing. Breathe in, fills your whole body. And breathe out. Very good. Let's, we're going to do something from the first part of the Taimyo Kata, which our students wouldn't know if we were teaching beginners, so we wouldn't say it, but we're going to go into hands overhead. And then you can see me, I'll kneel down. This squatting part is not part of the movement. Hands overhead and just scan down. Okay. So my hands will be off camera, but that's what they're doing. So a little overhead and then just scanning down. And when we finish, we'll be like this, stand your ground pose. And then we'll do it again, and we'll do stand your ground with fists. Okay? So, same thing with the breathing. From the tanden, breathe in, fill your whole body. reach up, cross your hands, scan down, open fingers. One more time. Breathe in, up, scan down with fists, soft fists. Very good. And relax. You've all been doing Shintaido for a long time, so this probably doesn't apply to you so much, but your beginners will probably feel a difference between open hand and fists, because when you've got a fist, you're angry, right? So one of the really useful tools in Shintaido for me was that when I made a fist, to not let that be an angry making thing. That's not the point of the fist. The closed fist is not an expression of anger. It's an expression that I'm not alone. You're not alone. I'm part of a valued community, and I belong to something bigger than I am. And I will stand with my community. And that's, of course, very powerful. So we are. We'll talk about that more in the final lesson if we do the entire series of 5 about community building. But now I want to go to the end of the lesson, which is soft vocalization with Aozoru Taiso. Ah, oh. Okay, so same movement that we did. Ah. Hands come down. Oh. Oh. Okay, from the side. So let's do this together. And vocalize with me if you like, and if you're in an environment where it won't upset your neighbors. So feet together, hands in that nested hand position. Open your feet, open your hands, breathe in, and ah. And to the front. Oh. Yummy. So that's the end of our class. In Japanese martial arts, as all of you know, we usually bow at the end of the class. We just did our mokuso, our meditation, and the bow looks like this. Okay. So I bow to you, you bow to me. Thank you very much. And we got through the class with 10 minutes early, so we have 10 minutes to talk and respond to any thoughts you have. I'm going to take notes. And probably my microphone is going to go away in just a minute, and I'll be on audio from my laptop. So that switch should be coming up. Okay. Thoughts?
Thank you very much, Lee. So yeah, if you wish to contribute or ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself as you need to. So go ahead.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Dan, I must confess, on the last movement, I lost myself on ah, and I didn't see, I rejoined at o. So as you were descending from ah, were you doing an eh movement or?
No, Aozora Taiso is just, that's a lot to put on beginners at the first class.
Okay.
I think we get into full ten shingo so toward the end of the series. It's just a straight, just straight sorry. This gives us enough. Oh.
Okay.
And then E, but we don't call it E. We just, it's, I'm sorry, that was A and E, O.
Thank you. I see. I forgot that it was Aozora Taiso. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
My apologies.
Lee,
No.
People may know, but did you define what the word Azoro Taiso means?
Not at all. That's a good thing to add, though. I had stage fright.
Could you tell us what it means?
Thank you. Aozora Taiso means blue sky. Blue sky exercise.
Oh, nice.
Aozora is blue sky. And we happen to have some in Bellingham, which is very unusual. We usually have the misty, moisty gray sky. So yeah, it's a beautiful day here today.
Microphones are open, so go ahead.
So I'm sorry, could you show again what you just did, like from going from ah to o, like the transition from ah to o?
Yes. I will back up so you can see me.
Mhm.
From the side first. So ah. So this is basically eiko. Ha. There we go. Ah. Just eiko say, and then o.
Thank
From
you.
the front. Did you get it?
Well, you can do it from the front too. Go for it.
So ah. O.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
I have one more question. I'm a
Yeah.
beginner. I'm a beginner, by the way.
cool.
So you have a true beginner.
Thank you.
The soft fist I always ask, Rob has told me and I forget, is the thumb inside or outside?
That's a really good question. And I asked my teachers that same question because I was totally naive. It turns out if you put your thumb on the inside and you hit something, you will break your thumb or not make it feel good anyway. That's a very bad thing to do to your thumb. And you always want it to be on the outside.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Does that make sense to you? You can, if you put your fingers around your thumb and the thumb's on the inside, just try it and imagine hitting something.
Yeah.
And you'll probably never forget it again.
Makes sense.
If you're interested in fists, I'm sure you get this from your teacher too, but the thumb goes in a very specific spot. It goes right across the index finger and the middle finger. So it doesn't go over here. My teachers would scold me about that. See, that thumb is out of line. It's twisted in a little bit. You don't want that. You want a square fist.
Thank you. Thanks
You're welcome.
Yeah.